Kenji, a wealthy and handsome Korean mafia boss, had everything except love. On a snowy Christmas Eve, after countless failed arrangements, he never expected to fall for Jamal, a kind African-American waiter from a world completely different from his. But when family, power, and fear threaten to tear them apart, will love be strong enough to defy destiny? Sit back and enjoy this heart-racing tale of passion, sacrifice, and the fight for true love. The snow fell heavily on the streets of the city, making the glass windows of the luxurious restaurant foggy. Inside, Kenji sat at a private table, checking his watch. His sharp jawline, deep-set eyes, and perfectly styled hair made every man turn to steal glances at him. But he didn't care. He had been on another arranged meeting, and once again he was disappointed. His date had been just like the others, too focused on his power, too eager to impress, but with no real heart. Kenji sighed. His father had set up countless meetings for him, hoping he would form an alliance through marriage soon, but he was tired. No one felt right, no one made his heart race. As he walked out of the restaurant, his phone buzzed. It was his consigliere, Matteo, calling about an urgent matter. He had to fly to another city in 2 days for a meeting with a rival family. Kenji groaned. He hated traveling for long negotiations, but he had no choice. 2 days later, Kenji landed in the bustling city. He checked into one of the best hotels, where the meeting was set to take place. He didn't expect anything special, just another deal, another flight back home. But life had other plans. Late at night, feeling restless, Kenji decided to take a walk around the hotel. He stopped by the restaurant inside, hoping to grab a drink. That was when he saw him, a waiter. He wasn't dressed in fancy clothes or dripping in expensive jewelry like the men Kenji usually met. He wore a simple uniform, his dark skin glowing under the restaurant lights. His big, bright eyes held kindness, and when he smiled at an elderly woman, helping her with her coat, Kenji felt something strange. His heart skipped a beat. Jamal, that was his name, he heard one of the chefs call him. He was different, so different. Kenji sat at a table watching as he worked. He was gentle with customers, always smiling, always polite. When he finally walked up to him, Kenji felt nervous for the first time in his life. "Good evening, sir. What would you like to order?" he asked. Kenji stared at him, forgetting how to speak for a second. Then he cleared his throat. "Just water." Jamal tilted his head. "Are you sure? We have some really good gumbo. Most visitors love it." Kenji wasn't sure what gumbo was, but he found himself saying, "I'll have that." Jamal smiled again and walked away. Kenji exhaled. His chest felt warm. He didn't understand why, but he wanted to know more about this man. The next day he made sure to visit the restaurant again, and the next and the next. Each time he found an excuse to talk to him. He was funny, smart, and full of life. He didn't treat him like a powerful mafia boss. He treated him like a regular person. And for the first time in his life, Kenji felt seen. But not everyone was happy. His consigliere, Matteo, noticed the way Kenji kept visiting the restaurant. "Sir, you shouldn't waste your time on a waiter," he warned. "Your father will be furious." Kenji ignored him. His father called, asking about the negotiations. He had no idea he was more interested in a local waiter than in sealing treaties. Meanwhile, Jamal was confused. He had never met a man like Kenji. He was polite, charming, and always asking him questions about his life. At first, he thought he was just being friendly, but then he started to notice the way he looked at him, the way his gaze softened when he laughed, the way he seemed to relax whenever he was near. One evening, as he was cleaning a table, he overheard 2 guests whispering about Kenji. "He's the youngest boss of the Kong Syndicate," one said. "He's worth millions. Why would he waste time here?" The other asked. Jamal froze. He had no idea Kenji was that powerful. That night, he avoided him. When he tried to talk to him, he gave short answers and walked away. Kenji felt the change immediately. Did he find out who he was? Did he think he was just playing around? Frustrated, he waited until his shift ended and followed him outside. "Jamal," he called. He turned, his arms crossed. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" Kenji sighed. Because I didn't want you to see me as just some powerful man. I wanted you to see me as me. Jamal looked at him for a long time. You're a mafia boss. You live in a different world. What do you even want from me? Kenji didn't know how to explain it. All he knew was that he didn't want to leave this city without him. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, his phone rang. It was his father, and he was about to change everything. Kenji hesitated before answering the call. He knew his father well. He never called without a reason, and that reason was never good when it came to his personal life. Kenji, where are you? His sharp voice demanded the moment he picked up. In another city, he said simply. For business. Yes, I know. But I also know you've been wasting time at some low-class restaurant. He snapped. Your consigliera told me everything. Kenji clenched his jaw. Mateo had betrayed him. You need to focus on your future, Kenji. Enough with these distractions. You have an arranged meeting when you return. The son of Chairman Park, a perfect match. His grip on the phone tightened. His father had been controlling his life for years, deciding who he should align with, what he should do, and how he should act. But for the first time, he didn't want to obey. I'm not interested, he said firmly. There was silence on the other end. Then his father's voice dropped into a dangerous whisper. What did you just say? I said I'm not interested, Kenji repeated. Jamal stood nearby, pretending not to listen, but his heart pounded. He had never seen someone defy their father like that, especially someone as powerful as Kenji. Kenji, his father said, his voice cold. Don't be foolish. Whatever little game you're playing, end it. Come home and do what's right. Kenji ended the call without another word. He turned to Jamal, who was staring at him with a mixture of shock and concern. You shouldn't have done that, he said softly. I should have done it a long time ago, he replied. Jamal sighed, rubbing his arms. Kenji, be honest with yourself. What do you really want from me? Kenji stepped closer. I don't know everything yet, but I do know this. I don't want to leave without you. Jamal's breath hitched. His heart said one thing, but his mind said another. We come from two different worlds, he whispered. You have a life there. I have a life here. Then let's create a new world, Kenji said, his eyes burning with sincerity. For a moment, he wanted to believe him. He wanted to fall into his arms and let himself dream. But reality wasn't a fairy tale. Before he could answer, loud voices echoed from the hotel entrance. Where is he? Where is my son? Kenji's heart sank. His father was here, and he was about to destroy everything. The tension in the air was so thick that Jamal felt like he couldn't breathe. He turned just in time to see a tall, elegant man in a perfectly tailored suit storm into the hotel lobby. His sharp shoes clicked against the marble floor. Behind him were two bodyguards and Kenji's consigliere, Mateo, who looked both nervous and guilty. Kenji's father. His presence was overwhelming, his face cold and unreadable as he scanned the restaurant. The moment his sharp eyes landed on Kenji, he marched toward him. Kenji, he said in a dangerously calm voice. Let's go. Kenji didn't move. I'm not leaving. His father's expression darkened. Enough of this nonsense. You are embarrassing yourself and our family. What is a boss doing chasing after a... He stopped, his gaze finally landing on Jamal. For a second, there was silence. Then, in a voice coated with disdain, he said, This is the boy. Jamal felt his stomach twist. He wasn't stupid. He knew this type of man, the kind who believed power and wealth were the only things that mattered, the kind who would never accept someone like him. Kenji stepped protectively in front of Jamal. His name is Jamal, he said firmly. And yes, he's the one He stopped himself before finishing the sentence, but everyone understood what he was about to say. His father let out a low chuckle, shaking his head. You have lost your mind. I've finally found it, Kenji shot back. He exhaled sharply, his patience thinning. Listen to me, Kenji. Do you think a man like this can survive in our world? Do you think he understands what it means to be by your side? He is nothing but a hotel waiter. That's enough. Kenji's voice was firm, his eyes flashing with anger. I don't care what you think. You've controlled my life for too long. I'm not walking away from this. Jamal felt his chest tighten. He was fighting for him, but did he even belong in his world? His father turned to him now, his gaze sharp. Do you really believe this is a love story? He asked. Do you think a man like him will stay with you? Do you think you can handle what comes next? Jamal opened his mouth to speak, but he hesitated. He had never thought about what would come next. He had never imagined what being with Kenji would actually mean. Before he could respond, Kenji grabbed his hand. Jamal, you don't have to answer him. I know this is a lot, but his phone rang. Everyone froze. Kenji hesitated before checking the caller ID. When he saw the name, his face went pale. Chairman Park, the father of the man his father had arranged for him to marry. His father smirked. You see? You can't escape your responsibilities. Kenji clenched his jaw, his fingers tightening around Jamal's hand. He had to make a choice, his family or him, and he had to make it now. Kenji stared at his phone, his mind racing. He knew what this call meant. Chairman Park wasn't a man to be ignored. Answering would mean stepping back into the life his father had planned for him. Not answering would mean war. His father's smirk deepened. Go on, he taunted. Answer it. Be the dutiful son you've always been. Jamal could feel the tension radiating from Kenji's body. He squeezed his hand lightly, unsure if he was comforting him or himself. Then, slowly, Kenji did something no one expected. He turned off his phone. A sharp gasp escaped Mateo's lips. The bodyguards exchanged glances. Even Jamal felt a jolt of shock. Kenji's father, however, didn't react immediately. He simply blinked. Then, in a voice so cold it sent chills down Jamal's spine, he whispered, You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Kenji took a deep breath, straightened his shoulders, and met his father's gaze without fear. No, he said. For the first time, I made the right choice. The restaurant had gone silent. Other guests were pretending not to watch, but everyone could feel the weight of the moment. His father took a step closer, his face unreadable. Do you think this boy will wait for you? He asked softly. Do you think he can handle the pressure, the scandals, the media, the business world? Love doesn't protect you from reality. Kenji didn't flinch. Then I'll protect him. Jamal's heart stopped. Protect him? He pulled his hand from his grasp, stepping back. Kenji, his voice wavered. Maybe your father is right. His head snapped toward him. What? I don't belong in your world, he whispered. I don't know if I can do this. Kenji looked like he had been punched in the gut. Jamal, don't say that. This is your choice, not my father's. Jamal bit his lip. He wanted to believe in him. He wanted to believe in them. But fear gripped his chest. Kenji's father saw the hesitation in his eyes and smiled. That's what I thought, he said. Then, turning to his son, he added, You will return home with me, and you will forget this foolishness. Kenji turned to Jamal, his eyes pleading. Say the word, and I'll stay. Jamal opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come out. Tears welled in his eyes as he forced himself to step back. He looked away. Kenji felt something inside him crack. He had never felt this helpless before. His father placed a hand on his shoulder. Let's go. For the first time in his life, Kenji had fought for something real, and for the first time he had lost. Without another word, he turned and walked away. Jamal stood there, watching his figure disappear through the hotel doors, feeling like he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. But was it really a mistake? Or was this the only way to save them both? The moment Kenji stepped out of the hotel, Jamal felt an emptiness he had never known before. It was as if someone had taken all the light from the room, leaving him in complete darkness. He had done the right thing, hadn't he? Kenji was from a world far different from his. A world of power, money, and expectations. A world where love wasn't always enough. Then why did her heart feel like it was breaking? He stood frozen as he watched him get into the black car. His father sitting beside him, victorious. Mateo hesitated at the door, giving him a small, regretful look before following. And then, just like that, they were gone. Jamal let out a shaky breath, wiping the single tear that slipped down his cheek. He turned, trying to focus on work, but everything felt dull. lifeless. Even the voices of his colleagues, the clatter of plates, and the hum of the restaurant seemed far away. He had let him go, and he had no idea if he would ever see him again. Kenji stared out of the car window, his jaw tight, his heart heavier than it had ever been. His father sat beside him, looking smug, but he refused to acknowledge him. "You'll thank me later," he finally said. "One day you'll see I was right." Kenji closed his eyes, letting out a slow breath. "I'll never thank you for this," he said quietly. His father's smile faltered for the briefest second before he straightened, pretending not to care. But Kenji knew the truth. He had won this battle, but not the war. Because no matter how far he was from Jamal, no matter how much time passed, one thing was certain. He was in love with him, and he wasn't going to let this be the end of their story. Not yet. Weeks passed, but Kenji couldn't forget him. Back home, he was surrounded by luxury, by the familiar cold halls of his family's estate, by endless meetings and responsibilities. But nothing felt the same. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw him, Jamal, with his bright, kind eyes, his laughter that made everything feel lighter, his warmth that had melted the walls he had built around himself for years. He had left him, but his heart had stayed behind. One evening, as he sat in his office, staring blankly at the reports in front of him, Mateo hesitated before speaking. "Sir, you're not yourself," he said carefully. Kenji didn't respond. Mateo sighed. "I booked a ticket." Kenji finally looked up. "What?" Mateo pushed a plane ticket across the desk. "To go back. Tomorrow morning." Kenji's heart pounded. "Why would you do that?" Mateo gave him a knowing look. "Because you need to go back. Because you love him. And because if you don't do something now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Kenji's fingers tightened around the ticket. Mateo was right. Without another word, Kenji stood, grabbed his coat, and walked out. He had wasted enough time. He wasn't going to let him slip away again. Jamal stood by the restaurant window, lost in thought. The sky was painted with soft orange hues, the city buzzing with life. But inside him, there was only silence. He missed him more than he wanted to admit. He had tried to move on, to focus on work, to convince himself he had done the right thing. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had let fear win, and now Kenji was gone. "Jamal," his friend nudged him. "There's someone asking for you outside." Jamal frowned. "Who?" The girl just grinned. "Go see for yourself." With a sigh, Jamal wiped his hands on his apron and stepped outside. And then he stopped, his breath caught in his throat. Standing right there, in the golden light of sunset, was Kenji, looking as handsome as ever. His dark hair slightly tousled from the wind, his sharp suit slightly wrinkled from travel. But his eyes held something raw, something desperate, something that made his heart race. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, in a soft, almost shaky voice, he said, "I came back for you." Jamal felt his world tilt. His hands trembled, and before he could stop himself, he ran straight into his arms. Kenji caught him, holding him so tightly it felt like he would never let go. "I thought I lost you," he whispered against his chest, tears slipping down his cheeks. "You'll never lose me," he murmured, pressing his lips against his hair. "Not now, not ever." Jamal pulled back slightly, looking up at him. Kenji cupped his face, his thumb gently brushing away his tears. "I love you, Jamal," he whispered, "and I don't care about anything else. Just tell me you'll have me, and I'll stay forever." Tears filled his eyes again, but this time they were tears of happiness. He smiled, placing his hands over his. "Stay," he whispered, and then, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kenji leaned down and kissed him, soft, deep, full of all the love he had held inside for so long. And in that moment, nothing else mattered, because love had won. Months later, Jamal stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the elegant suit Kenji had gifted him. He still couldn't believe how much had changed. His father had fought hard to separate them, but Kenji had fought harder to keep him. And in the end, love had won. He had been accepted, not because he changed, but because Kenji had refused to let the world define their love. Tonight, as he walked into the grand event held in the city, Kenji stood waiting at the entrance, his eyes shining with pride. He reached for his hand, lacing their fingers together. "Ready?" he whispered. Jamal smiled, squeezing his hand. "As long as you're with me." And with that, they stepped forward together, no longer fighting for their love, but living it.